Representative Kazarian's bill, House Bill 7328. It's an act related to domestic relations and solemnization of marriage. It authorizes the governor in his or her discretion to designate a justice of the peace in each town or city as considered expedient to solemnize marriages. Interesting. This is the marriage agenda.
There we go. Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. It's always good to be in front of Judiciary. The bill that's in front of you, the one that I submitted this year, is one I've also submitted last year. It would match what the law is in Massachusetts for a solemnization of marriage. Most importantly, though, I'd like to give a little background on why I put in this bill. Back in 2018, after we had adjourned session, I had a constituent frantically reach out to me that she needed a solemnization of marriage for her wedding that would be in September. And I asked around, we had already adjourned, there was nothing we could do for her as far as getting a solemnization of marriage for her wedding that would happen in a couple months. So, more and more I'm finding that people don't really know what the solemnization of marriage process is here in Rhode Island. I was telling Chairman Corvasi, I had another constituent come up to me at an event. I was actually talking about this bill and about trying to modernize the process. And he had no idea that this was the process in Rhode Island as it stood, that he had to get a solemnization through the legislature. And he had a wedding he has a wedding in May that he has to perform for his cousin. So luckily we were able to get him, a bill introduced and get the process going for him. But it's just a very old process. It's very antiquated. You see a lot of states moving this process, making it online, a form you fill out and a small fee that you pay. So that's all I'm looking to do with this bill. Again, making it available all year long, available to put an application in online, and then pay a small fee. I do also just want to bring to your attention that the Senate Leader McCaffrey puts in a bill of similar nature, but the language is a little bit different. I think it's something that he kind of crafted on his own with his team, and it would charge an $150 fee, whereas the ones that I have right now, the fees range anywhere from $20 to $50. So just looking to modernize the process, make it available all year long, and make it simple for people. Because I still think about that constituent who, I had to tell in July she couldn't have her friend marry them in September. It was awful. So, yeah. So that's.
You couldn't get the entire General Assembly to come back at your request?
I should have tried harder to do that, but yeah, no, it didn't work out.
A real friend would have tried that, but.
Tips for next time.
Just kidding.
Unless we modernize it, then we wouldn't have to worry.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Any questions of the sponsor? Okay. Then we'll hold off on there's 6 witnesses that wish to testify, but I have a couple of more reps that have to leave early. There was one bill that we didn't finish testimony on, Representative Kazarian's bill. So there's only 2 potential witnesses that wish to testify. Is Wendy Becker here? She is not. And, she is? Oh, come forward, Wendy. And Randall, you can come back up because you signed up on that bill as well.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee.
Welcome.
Thank you. I support this bill, and I'd like it to be taken out of the process of the legislature, but for a slightly different reason. My partner and I were a plaintiff couple in a lawsuit against the state of Massachusetts in 2006. After they legalized marriage there. And while Massachusetts allowed opposite-sex couples from out of state to get married, they didn't allow same-sex couples from out of state. They closed the borders to us. And we agreed to be part of that lawsuit because we felt really strongly that same-sex couples should be treated the same way as heterosexual ones are. And that disparate treatment under the law administered by a state, particularly one with equal rights protections for LGBT people, was just not acceptable. And that state-sanctioned discrimination must always be challenged, which is why I'm here tonight. I'm really here to challenge it in the way you do the solemnizations of marriages. Bundling marriage solemnizations separately by gender and sexual orientation of those getting married seems to allow a system with the expressed purpose of legislators expressing their prejudices more easily. And it seems like that shouldn't be allowed to happen. I'm sad that there are still legislators who don't believe that my 32-year relationship is worthy of marriage, but I'm much sadder that this entire body acquiesces to their beliefs and has actually institutionalized a discriminatory process. So irrespective of whether this bill passes, I would ask you to please stop continuing the process of separate voting for heterosexual couples and same-sex couples. That the legislature shouldn't be sending a message that it's okay to treat marriages of same-sex couples differently from those of opposite-sex ones. Thanks.
Any questions for Wendy Becker? Thank you for your testimony. It was illuminating.
Thank you.
Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm also in favor of this bill. Basically, I think marriage is a civil right. It's one of the most important things in life. It shouldn't be something that some high-ranking official can decide at their discretion whether you get to have your marriage or not. They shouldn't be able to decide who gets to solemnize your marriage, because one thing that people really value in our society, and I would think any society, is deciding who gets to preside over their wedding. And I think that's something that we should respect. We shouldn't be acting as if that's something for elected officials to be deciding on. It's something that's people feel is important, and it kind of symbolizes what the couple that's engaged to be married want to have in their wedding, and what they want to bring to their future life together. And I think people should be able to make that choice without anybody else having discretion to override the decision. I know this bill technically says that the governor has a choice of who to designate, but I think it helps move us closer to that day when when these things are understood to be completely up to the couple. I think if this bill passed, and in practice it would mean that the governor would always designate anyone people want. You wouldn't have to go through the process of asking 118 people in the so you wouldn't have to go through the process of asking 113 people in the General Assembly to approve your choice of person to solemnize your marriage. And it's and I think it's really disappointing that a lot of people, that some people in the General Assembly choose to disapprove of the choice of some people, to choose to object to the choice of someone to solemnize a marriage just because they have objections to the underlying marriage, religious objections or whatever it might be. I think that's really, I mean, at best unpleasant to watch, and it really does send a message of discrimination with that. And I think really this should be taken out of the political realm. It should be just recognized as a right that people have, and it's part of us valuing all kinds of marriages equally, and people of all sexualities equally. So I'm very much in favor of this bill. I do notice it also has some revenue attached to it, which maybe I guess maybe some people may like it for that too, but I like it more for the underlying message. So thank you.
Any questions for Randall? That concludes House testimony on Representative Kazarian's Bill 7328, which brings